It's not good.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to IHIP News. Pumps is clapping away, and she likes to call this segment,
Girl, please.
Girl, please. That's what we feel like saying to all these nutty right-wing psycho politicians. Girl, please.
Yep. I have to say, today I'm excited. You know why? We're talking about my favorite subject.
Let me let the viewer in on a little secret. It's not a secret. It's just her life. Pumps' life consists of filming for this podcast, doing some lawyering on the side, and then her full-time job, much bigger than the lawyer part or being a podcaster or clapping, one of the best clappers in the United States of America, is watching and deep diving into an algorithm personally curated by herself that is all the insanity that is Trumpism.
Yep.
It's the Midas Touch. It's MSNBC. It's the New York Times. It is any sort of Trump bashing or Trump analysis. This is where this woman shines. So viewer, prepare yourself to be nothing short of razzle-dazzled, and I'm going to pass it over to Pumps.
Okay, so what my favorite topic is, as we've discussed, is Trump and all his fuckery. I mean, this guy is a career criminal, as we know. But what really strikes me is this myth that he is the great businessman, the great art of the deal. You know, he knows more about business than everybody else has forgotten.
Yeah.
And this, to me, is just pure joy.
Okay.
Because, first of all, he inherited almost $500 million 30 years ago.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's not self-made. But anyway, so I just thought I'd just do a little brief snapshot of his legal woes. And this is our absolute businessman, the best there is. Number one, $25 million for Trump University. You know why? Because Trump University was bullshit. Didn't exist, never existed. He had to pay $25 million. I actually heard an interview with the lawyer for this lawsuit. They were willing to settle for $2 million, but Trump wouldn't have any part of it. So they went further, got all this shit about how fake it was, and he ended up settling for $25 million. So bravo, good negotiating. From $2 million to $25, you're the best. Then we've got, he fucking defrauded a charity to the tune of $2 million. He used a charity for his own personal use. His son, Eric, all in on it. They're all just fucking career criminals. Okay, so this is the best businessman ever. Then we have his organization, the vaulted Trump organization, was found guilty criminally, and had to pay a $1.6 million fine. You know why? Fucking fraud. So it's worth 3 for 3. These are just the ones we know about. Then we come up to E. Jean Carroll. Now, there's a $5 million E. Jean Carroll verdict, too. This motherfucker couldn't keep his mouth shut. He had to keep defaming the woman that he sexually abused. He had to defame her. He couldn't shut the fuck up. Now he's saying, I don't have the money. I shouldn't have to post the bond. Guess what, motherfucker? You should have to post the bond because you can't control yourself. This is just this month alone, February alone. Then we move on to $350 million. Want to guess why? Fucking fraud. Again. So now we're 4 for 4. Now this judgment collects interest. We're already at over $465 million that he owes just for this, not including Eugene Carroll. Yes, Jennifer.
I read, I believe that, or I saw a clip where his attractive lawyer that he likes to trot out that's rather incompetent.
Right.
That somebody asked her, does he have the money? And she's like, well, yes, he's a billionaire. The same day she had to file paperwork that said he did not have the money.
Correct. Alina Habba, who is just
her.
Absolutely. She'd like to be pretty versus smart. And I'm like, girlfriend, you ain't either. Because when your mouth moves, you're not pretty anymore. So now he's pleading. He wants to put up $100 million because he can't secure $350 million, which is now $465 million because of interest. You know what the New York Court of Appeals said? Nope. You got to post it all. So March 7th, he has to post the E. Jean Carroll. It's about 90 million. March 25th, he has to post what will be over 465 million because he is a fraud. He is a complete and total fraud. So now that's 5 for 5. And then the coup de grace is that Truth Social, his very uninhabited social media, he is now trying to dilute the shares of his partners, and they have sued him in Delaware where the company was incorporated. You know what that is again?
Fraud.
Fraud. This guy that people believe is the world's greatest businessman. I mean, it takes 5 minutes on the Goog to figure out he's a fraud. It's not hard.
Right.
But people just believe him because he says it over and over. So despite the fact that he is clearly diminished capacity intellectually, despite the fact that he is a full-blown homophobic racist, despite the fact that he's an incompetent businessman, what's prevailing is that he is a fraud. It's just as clear as the nose on my face. So I just thought, because I love it so much, that my enthusiasm in sharing it all in a concise form would maybe one person would open their eyes and say, maybe I should research that myself. Maybe I should take a look. Because what we've got here is a big, fat, crying, whining, titty baby fraud. And I hate him. But at the same time, I kind of like watching all his fuck ups.
I will say that your enthusiasm is very contagious. And I would like to now talk about the Jack Smith case.
Okay.
The former President Trump is asking for presidential immunity from prosecution.
Absolute presidential immunity.
Which theoretically could mean that if the Supreme Court grants that Joe Biden could assassinate Trump.
Free of consequences.
Jack Smith asked the Supreme Court to rule on this.
Correct.
Expeditiously.
Yes, in December.
And they have agreed to take it up, and it's going to happen in April.
What happened is Jack Smith asked the Supreme Court, skip over the appellate court, expeditiously decide this issue. They said, nope, you got to go to the D.C. Circuit, which expedited the hearing and the ruling. Then the Supreme Court got briefs on it and decided, now we're going to take it up. Now we're going to look at it, and we're going to wait until April 20th, which basically Trump knows he's guilty of all these things. He knows he's going to be convicted. His only hope is to delay the trials until after the election and then to be elected president. So, despite the fact that an overwhelming percentage of the American public would like a jury decision on all of his cases, all 91 of his felony indictments prior to the election, because even Republicans said if he is convicted, it will change their support of him. They, in all of their unethical, immoral behavior, have decided to put that hearing off until April 20th, which will almost inevitably delay all of the cases currently pending in the federal system. The ability for the Supreme Court to act quickly, they have that ability. They have chosen not to. They decided Bush v. Gore in 4 days. They briefed it, they heard oral arguments, made a decision in 4 days. Now we're going to let this go so that it's damn near impossible to have a trial before the election. So the best hope that we have is for him to not be elected and then be convicted, and then spend the rest of his life in the orange jumpsuit to match his skin. I hope they have big enough sizes. But so that's where we are. It's very disappointing. And the Supreme Court probably will not rule until the end of June when the term is up. They go on vacation in July. So the conventional wisdom is we won't have a decision until the end of June 2024 on these issues.
Do they all have to... The court, do you have to have a unanimous, like, let's act quickly on this, and everybody has to agree to act quickly in order for them to decide it quickly?
My understanding is that 5 justices would have to agree on the speed. And apparently 5 justices could not come to a decision based on, we've got the 3 Trump appointees, Alito and Thomas. So I'm guessing that those 5.
Also Roberts.
Well, we don't know how the court broke down, but those would be the 5 that I would lean towards.
Right.
They would have to vote for, let's do it expeditiously. Let's not make it in a hurry. Let's grant the stay. You had to have 5 justices for all that. There's zero transparency with the court, so we don't know who voted how, but we do know that they didn't find any urgency in this matter.
You know, it's really going to be interesting, like for the history books, that the Supreme Court subverted the will of the people in Bush v. Gore. And imagine how different the country would be now had there been a President Gore instead of a President Bush. And then in this instance, it looks like they are obsequious to a total fraudulent, narcissistic, psychotic con man. And it's really jaw-dropping how fragile our institutions have become.
It's so jaw-dropping and it's so disconcerting. And here's the thing that bothers me the most out of all of it. They do a lot of speaking, all the Supreme Court justices do, and Chief Justice Roberts is beating the drum. The perception the public has of the Supreme Court is completely off. We're not political. Why is there no confidence in the Supreme Court? And I'm like, well, you overturned Roe.
Right.
No shit.
People don't like the rights being taken from them.
And then this maneuver, which whether they rule that he has absolute presidential immunity or not, which I do not think that they can in good faith do, but they don't act in good faith, they're giving him what he wants, which is delay.
Right.
So they are obviously political and right-wing.
Think about this. Think about the fact that they're delaying. When we all saw on our televisions what happened on January 6th, we all saw it live and in motion. We saw him give his speech and say, let's march down to the Capitol. We saw Josh Hawley do the fist bump. Everybody knew what they were going to try to do. We all watched it live on television. And the fact that we're this far out from that, and it's just been kind of glazed over. And you have all of these people that are like, originally they were like, oh no, we're done with Trump. But now they're all starting to get back on the Trump train again. And it's amazing to me that in this country, people of evangelical Christianity are far more concerned with controlling and denying people freedom than they are morality.
Absolutely.
I think the root of this is American Puritanism, American fundamentalist Christianity is the root of all of this. And that's the component that they want to insert into the government. And they'll all say, well, Trump may be an imperfect vessel.
You think?
And I'm just like, okay, first of all, shut the fuck up with the vessels and all this crap. It's so obvious how blatantly hypocritical the people of the far right sects of this faith are, and megachurch culture, and what bullshit it is and what a grift it is. Is it even surprising at all that people that go and give their money to a megachurch where the pastors fly on private planes, have stylists, put on a big production, would have any problem sending money to Donald Trump? Grifter and a grifter. That's who they look for inspiration. So no wonder they're morally defunct.
Right. And I think that they think they're moral when really they just want power. It's purity culture, control the masses, and we want political power. And we don't give a fuck who represents us as long as we get it.
Donald Trump's a con man, and all of these, the evangelical movement in southern states, it doesn't work. Look at the stats.
Look at the stats. Look at the data.
The stats in those states and look at the suffering. And all you have to see is the most religious states in this country are also ranked near the bottom.
In all categories.
In all categories. That's right. All right. Well, that'll do it, Pumps. Tell them.
We will see you when we feel like it.